Okay, LSU fans, if you wanted to see your team play up to its potential against a decent, not great, but solid opponent, you got your wish on Saturday night. We bring in Matt Moscona from ESPN Radio in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Matt, how you doing today?
Pretty good. It was actually nice to watch something different for a change. Les Miles had a lot of success during his time in Baton Rouge, but after 12 years, it was admittedly nice to see something different.
I reacquainted myself near the end of that game with how many teams since 2011, how many times LSU has played a team that's a good team, not talking about Chattanooga like they'll play Saturday, but a mid-tier to lower team, SEC team, or somebody outside the conference like a BYU, somebody that they should beat by 2 to 3 touchdowns, but then they slopped by them or they lost in the last 4 or 5 years. And it's quite a few teams. So for anybody out there that just watches the SEC, think Mississippi State or Kentucky. That's probably what BYU is and will be this season. And LSU went out there and took care of business.
I think, of course, defense is probably the storyline, because I don't care if you're playing against air. When you hold living, breathing human beings to 97 yards of total offense, -5 rushing, they don't cross midfield. There are a lot of Chattanoogas and Liberties of the world that will have more success than that. So, a remarkable job by Dave Aranda's defense, especially considering all the players they were without for the game. No Arden Key. There were numerous suspensions in the game, so you didn't have senior linebacker Donnie Alexander, junior cornerback Kevin Tolliver. And in their place, all three of them, you started true freshmen. They started 4 true freshmen on defense last night and still did what they did. That was magnificent. And offensively, look, the thing about Ed Ogeron is he says he wants to be 50-50, run pass. Well, he didn't quite achieve that last night. It was 75-25 run pass. If you're just looking at the box score, you would think that it was the reincarnation of the Les Miles era, because 75 offensive plays, 57 of them were runs, 18 passes. So Danny Etling had 17 pass attempts for the game. Darius Geis had 20 rushes in the first half. It was such a stark contrast. But what Matt Canada's offense did, which was a bit refreshing, is used spread and motion concepts that forced BYU to take guys out of the box. What we'd become so accustomed to is watching 8, 9, sometimes 10-man fronts, and then there's Leonard Fournette like a wrecking ball running right into the line. This wasn't that. This was BYU showing 6-man fronts, respecting the passing game, and Matt Canada saying, okay, you're going to show me a 6-man front. I'm just going to keep giving the ball to Darius Geis. And that's what they did, and it worked last night. It'll be interesting to see moving forward if that strategy changes opponent by opponent.
And that's really smart offense, is because it's unpredictable and it's doing what the defense is giving you, but it's also playing to the score and the capability of your defense and what your defense is showing you. And there's no reason to check it up 45 times when Tanner Mangum and company cannot do anything. That was just suffocating defense. That was just a clinic.
That's a defense that lost 8 guys to the draft and that lost its best player at every level of the defense, and they came out last night. Look, let's not get sideways here. I mean, BYU isn't Alabama. It's certainly, I wouldn't even say it's Mississippi State. With what Nick Fitzgerald and the threat that offense could potentially pose. But for LSU on that night, playing as many young guys as they did without some key impact players, including the best player on the team in Arden Key, to hold BYU to 97 yards, only 35 offensive snaps. I mean, that was as dominant a defensive performance as I've seen. Now, the question obviously is, well, how good really is BYU? But even if BYU proves to be a 500 football team this year, you held them to 97 yards. I mean, people that were calling plays and actually trying, and you held them to 97 yards, which was impressive.
Yeah, people out there, don't hang on my Mississippi State comparison. I was making a comparison more from a program standpoint year to year. That's about the quality of football team. These two teams actually
Sure.
played last year and played an overtime game.
Yeah.
I don't know what BYU is this year as well. They look like a team that would probably win 2 or 3 games max in the SEC, but it's one game, so they could be much better than this down the road. But it was, again, considering what LSU has played down to in the last 4 or 5 seasons, they didn't make mistakes. There was no turnover.